We went to the pet store today and we got a parakeet. And I thought I'd let you share in how we set up a parakeet when it goes to a new home. The first thing we did was pick out a cage. And I wanted a nice sturdy cage. I wanted a reasonable amount of room. It doesn't need to be terribly big, but the bird needs to be comfortable in it. Most cages these days come with a grate in the bottom. And I don't like grates in the bottom of my cages. And so the first thing I do is I take the grate out by just pushing in on the side of the cage, and I use it to cook hot dogs. I put my cage back together, and now it's time to put the perches in place. And this cage came with 2 perches, which most do. And I'm going to put one towards the back with enough space for my bird's tail so it doesn't hit the back of the cage. And I'm just going to pop this down over the bars. And I'm going to put my other perch towards the front, but not quite so close because my food and water cups are going to go in the front. And I don't want my bird to be using the food and water cups. This cage has a wonderful pull-out tray. And so I'm going to take the tray and pull it out, and I'm going to slide in a paper towel. And I'm using a nice white paper towel on a new bird especially, because I want to be seeing my bird's droppings. The first day or so, birds generally do not eat. They sit there, and they're sure you've taken them home to have for dinner, and so they're going to sit in one position, and they're not going to move around. And I want to be sure that they're getting to the food and eating. Most cages these days come with 2 cups. So I have put some water in 1 cup, and we're going to put that right in here. And notice that my cups go into the cage without me having to go into the cage itself. I can do it from the outside. And then we're going to put some food in. The food that I prefer for my birds is food that does not have dye in it. And in fact, this particular mix is a mix of white proso millet, canary seed, and oats. And it's the old Scarlet Southern Parakeet mix, which has raised more birds in Maryland than any other seed mix. We're having that specially made for us at Animal Exchange, and I hope that you can find it where you're shopping, if not, because it's a wonderful mix and it doesn't have anything artificial in it. It's just all natural, wonderful seeds. And in fact, if you want to soak it and sprout it, you can. I'm going to add a cuttlebone to my cage, and the cuttlebone is the backbone of a cuttlefish. It's a source of calcium. Your bird is not going to be drinking a lot of milk, but it needs calcium if it's a girl to lay eggs, because the shell is calcium. And if it's any kind of a bird, it still needs calcium for its bones and for the outside of its feathers. So cuttlebone goes in the cage also with a little clip that they come with in the package. Every other day I'm going to put a couple drops of vitamin in the water, not as much as it says on the package, just enough to turn the water light yellow. And I'm going to take a little bit of gravel, and I'm going to sprinkle that on the floor of the cage, because birds in the wild, if you look inside of them, what you'll find is they have rocks in their gizzard, and that helps to grind the seeds that they eat. Before I've gone to the store to buy my equipment for my bird, I actually went and bought a book first, and I took it home and I read it. Yes, there's lots of information on the internet, and in fact, Animal Exchange has a website that includes our bird tip sheet, and we would encourage you to print that out and read it. But a book is edited, and other people have looked at it, and it has really good basic information. Too much of the information I see on the internet is not accurate. It's just an example of one experience. My little bird has come home in a box, and the box has kept him calm and safe on the way home. Now this little bird is a parakeet, but we actually call it an English budgie because it's a little bigger than most of the parakeets that you see. Oh, it's excited about coming out. And this little bird is absolutely the prettiest little bird I've seen in a long time. It is actually a spangle. And a spangle is a bird whose wing feathers have the color pattern reversed, so that where most parakeets, oh, you're wiggling a lot, aren't you? Most parakeets would have the dark pattern on the inside of the feather, yes, thank you, and a light pattern on the outside. It's reversed here, so that the dark is on the outside and the light is on the inside. First time I saw this was in New Zealand many years ago, actually in a pet store, because this is not what you would see in the wild if you were looking at parakeets in Australia. What you would see would be a green bird, but this beautiful blue mutation is one that has been developed as we breed birds in captivity. If you look at the cere, the area right above the bird's beak, you see it's dark blue, and so that tells me that this little bird is a boy. And he's anxious to get into his cage, as you see. I am holding him by his neck and the base of his tail. I'm not holding his chest because parakeets and other birds do not have a diaphragm like we do, and so you can't restrain their chest. Once we put him in his cage, the first thing he's going to do is look around and be very quiet because he's still not sure that we're safe. He thinks maybe this is not a good thing. His first day or two at home, I will be sure to take some spray millet and tuck it in the bars next to where he chooses to sit. I will put the spray millet between the bars right up next to where he is, because that's going to be the first thing that he eats. Parakeets can learn to talk just like you and I can. And especially if you have a high-pitched voice, not one like mine, and you repeat the same thing over and over, your bird is very apt to learn to talk. One of the things the birds at the store say when I leave at night is they say, bye-bye, and they insist on me answering them before I leave. It's really quite comforting. This little bird, and he is really a lovely bird, has a leg band on his left leg, and that means he was bred by a breeder who is breeding for show. And so this is not his very best bird. His best bird is probably a prize winner at one of the parakeet shows. This little bird is so pretty. And he's going to take a little shake, and then he's thinking about the fact that even though he's a brand new bird to this cage, that looks like a safe place for him. So he's probably going to take off and try to get there. But his wing is already trimmed. I have trimmed the feathers on the right wing, the long primary feathers, and his little self can jump to his cage, but he can't fly up and away. And at this point, if you had him at home as a pet, you would have no problem taking him out and having him sit on your hand, and then letting him sit outside his cage. He'll stay there for quite a while because he enjoys it. It's his territory. And he likes being up high, and so being on top of the cage is just a great thing in his opinion. We have a customer with a 21-year-old parakeet. So when we have you take a parakeet home, whether it's a $15 parakeet or a $50 bird like this one, you do in fact have a long life expectancy with your bird. They make wonderful pets. As I said, they can learn to talk, and they're very cheerful. You see how quiet the little bird is? He thinks you're not looking. And he will probably sit that way for the next few hours, very, very quietly. He hasn't had a dropping in the cage yet. And what I will watch the first few days is to be sure that he does have some droppings under his perch. In fact, I'll probably count them, because a parakeet should have about 40 droppings a day. And I need to know that because if there's a problem, there'll be fewer. And that's frequently my first indication of a problem, because birds hide their symptoms. I hope that you enjoy a parakeet. I do. I think they're wonderful pets. And we hope that you will have a chance to enjoy yours for a very, very long life, whether it's just as beautiful as this one or a cute little active green bird. Parakeets are sometimes the very best choice for a pet. Thanks for visiting. Come back and see us again.